everyone. I finally had a few moments to sit down and put together my thoughts about Celebrity Cruise Line and their elevated status. Okay, so first up was the boarding process. We had to go to Fort Lauderdale for this cruise. They do, I think, have one boat that sails out of Port Canaveral, but most of their boats sail out of Fort Lauderdale. So that was a bit of a drive. It took us about 3.5 hours on the way there and about 4 hours on the way back. But when we got there, they have their own terminal, and it was so smooth. We got there actually about 30 or 40 minutes earlier than our time, and they let us on no problem at all. And everybody was super friendly and like welcoming us, and like people just standing there being like, "Welcome to the cruise." Kaden was like, "Oh my gosh, it's a lot of people." It felt a bit like Disney. So that was super smooth, super easy. We could go straight to our room. We had to go do the lifeboat drill thing, but we just had to stop by the one theater and sign in, say that we knew where to go. And our room was ready to go, drop our stuff off, and then we got to go to lunch. Speaking of food, the food was a bit elevated too. The buffet especially, we felt like had so many options. Lots of things for every different taste. Every day we saw Indian food and obviously lots of American food, but tons of fresh things as well. Lots of salad items, or like one night they had, the nights were all themed. So they had a Mexican night, a Mediterranean night, and an Italian night. And like the one Mexican night, they had like a guacamole bar with fresh avocados, like right there that you could mash and put whatever mix-ins you wanted. They had some pre-made guacamole. On the Italian night, they had, fresh mozzarella, like 2 or 3 different ways, like sliced with tomatoes, or they had little balls. They had some like olives, Italian type things that I don't eat, but normal people do. So that was all really good. The buffet, the breakfast was great. They had, of course, an omelet station like all of them have, but they also had poached eggs, like 3 or 4 different ways you could get your eggs poached, with hollandaise sauce and all that kind of stuff. They had giant croissants that were super fresh. So I definitely think buffet was elevated. The dining room, we had a little bit of a problem with our seating, which kind of put a little bit of a little bad taste in our mouth. But we got it finally worked out, and the food there was really good too. Philip got like a teriyaki salmon one night that was super great, and I got a steak. It was cooked not to my preference. It was super, 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 super rare. Too rare to eat, but the parts that I did eat around the edges were actually really, really good. It was tender. It was much thicker than a lot of the other boats. Not quite as high caliber as maybe like a steakhouse restaurant, but certainly better than what I would get on a Carnival or even a Norwegian for the main normal steak. We also got prime rib one night. That was great. So I think food was pretty good. We're not big foodies, but for the foodies, you're gonna like it. Let's see what else. They are not really a boat that's geared towards kids. There was no like water slides or rock climbing walls or big gaming things. They do have kids clubs, and our teens did go to the teen club, and they had a good time. Met some other teens. There definitely were kids on the boat, but they don't cater to kids. In fact, the buffet had no kid food. Those of you that know Caden know that he lives on chicken fingers, and he had to eat grilled chicken pretty much at every meal because there was not any other plain food like chicken fingers for him to eat. They did, of course, have pizza and some pastas and things like that too. They did have a pasta bar too. And then the other thing that we noticed a lot was the lounge like areas were everywhere. They had really elevated, they had a sky deck that was beautiful with like huge puffy rocking chairs. If you go to my pictures on my page, you'll be able to see some of that, where we were sitting in them, and they just look out over the ocean. And they had, like daybed type loungers out and about everywhere. They had shaded and then also out in the sun, like chairs for sunning, but they had shady ones too. They had really nice like eating areas and tables, and like the big round, chairs that you can like kind of lay on, like almost like a bed. I feel like a lot of times when we've seen those, they've always been you know, reserved for, like, in Norwegian, I think they call it the haven. You know, reserved for certain people on certain areas that pay a bunch of extra money to get to be in those areas. And on this one, I think I only saw one place. They actually have a live, like, grass lawn that they do movies and things on. And they did have some, like, cabana areas that you had to reserve, so I assume you would have to pay for those. But other than that, everything else that we saw seemed like it was open to the public. Anybody could sit there, and there was actually enough of them for everyone too. So overall, we definitely liked Celebrity. We thought that it was honestly kind of elevated. I feel like for us, we usually are just like, we want to go as cheap as we can go so that we can go more places, more times. So I don't know that it'll be our always go-to, but definitely if it was a similar price or even maybe a little bit more, we would probably pick Celebrity. I definitely think you'd be happy, anybody would be happy on Celebrity. So if you would like help booking a cruise or pricing a cruise or finding out more information about any of the other lines, definitely give me a call or message me on Facebook or wherever, text, and we can put something together for you. We are going to be trying Princess sometime here in the future as well. That's another line that we haven't tried that we're going to be giving a try to. So stay tuned and follow along to see where in the world is Erica going next.